Coop, they're ready for you.
How about that? How about that? What if I started a fucking special like that? You like that, huh? Huh? You like when a white boy goes crazy? White boy's about to go crazy. Because we're going. That's why white boys are going to go crazy, because we're going to Iran. And listen, maybe right now, first on your head is, why is a 26-year-old thinking that he is able to talk about the war in Iran? Well, because I've noticed that people older than me also have no fucking idea and are even stupider because they supported the war in Iraq. And the number one defense of that is, well, 9/11 was bad. And listen, I get it. I don't want to minimize the deaths of the people that died in 9/11. I knew a lot of people that died in 9/11. They were all I'll say that. But, you know, they did die and they were good friends of mine. We had a big club, and then they were killed in the events of 9/11. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
You might regret saying that.
Shut the fuck up. So, yeah, I get it. You know, young guy, why is he talking about that? Because, listen, because you supported the war in Iraq, and because you thought 9/11 was bad. But even that didn't really make sense if you thought about it for more than 2 seconds, because why is 2 buildings worth 1 country? Okay? That doesn't make any fucking sense. And now we're going. And a lot of people don't know why we're going. Older people don't know why we're going. Older people don't know about the 1996 clean sweep plan, which was invented. Yeah, I drank a Rockstar before this. Ugh. Come on, y'all feel me. Y'all feel me. 1996. The year is 1996. Adam Sandler's still good. A lot of good stuff happening. Clean sweep plan. 7 countries. Let's see if we can remember them. Syria, Lebanon, Somalia, South Sudan, Iraq. One's Iran, and then the other, I'm forgetting. Afghanistan? Probably. Should be. Not should, but in their eyes. Listen, this is half-baked knowledge, but I got passion. 7 countries. The neoconservatives, the Isreal lobby in Israel wanted to attack them, wanted to take over their governments, wanted to put new guys in, wanted to get some shit going. They've gone into the other 6. Now it's time for Iran. They're late on their schedule, but they're doing it, okay? And a lot of people are like, why? Why are they doing that? Because Israel needs to kill every Palestinian that exists. And believe it or not, there are some people who don't love that. There are other countries that are like, hey, I think you should stop. And Israel is like, you're scaring me. That's essentially the conflict that's occurring. Israel is killing Palestinian after Palestinian since 1947 and even before. And if you're saying, don't you mean 1948? I don't, because the ethnic cleansing started before the establishment of the state. They've been killing tons and tons of people for so long, okay? And the general reaction of the Arab countries, the other ones, is, can you please stop? And then Israel's reaction is, you are scaring the fuck out of me. Do you realize how scary that is, that I am trying to kill this guy? Imagine just a guy just bleeding on the floor who's not allowed to go back to his house. I am trying to kick his head in, and you're telling me to stop? Do you realize how threatened that makes me feel? What do I have on my side? The largest military in the Middle East and the backing of the largest, best military in the entire world, the United States? That scares me, okay? Because I'm just a little guy. And a lot of Zionists are posting videos now, not videos, map pictures, where they go, this is the size of Israel, this is the size of Iran. They think people are that stupid that they go, well, look, he's just a little baby boy, you know? And that's been kind of the Zionist rhetoric for a long time, especially in the ethnic cleansing of 1948, when they said, well, just a little guy, it's just David and Goliath. When if you looked at the meetings between Ben-Gurion and his associates, his own diaries, he was very confident that they would win the war. Not only win the war, but be able to fight off Arab countries while committing an ethnic cleansing and taking more land that was allotted to them by the UN. They're not a little baby boy, but there's a lot of grown adults that are like, little Israel is just a little guy and he's just trying to kill all the Palestinians. That's all he's trying to do.
I think you were doing better on this.
Shut the fuck up. And that's the response. It's just with the little guy. Why are you fucking with the little boy? He's just a little baby boy. And then Netanyahu comes over, and you might think, Cooper, you sound annoying and redundant. You should listen to Netanyahu give the same speech for 35 years. He comes over to the U.S. and he's like, hey, just so you guys know, Iran is trying to kill all of us, kind of for no reason, okay? I literally don't know what we did. We expelled 800,000 people in 1948 and have continued that in subsequent operations like 1967 and so on and so forth. But besides that, I don't know why they don't like us. I think it's because we like gay people. And that's how crazy it is to be Iran. Where Iran is looking at Israel and they're like, hey, stop it. We're going to give money to Hezbollah. We're going to give money to several other groups that are going to take up arms against what you're doing if you don't stop doing it. And then Israel's response is, so you hate gay people. And Iran is like, okay, what? Wait, what? And Israel's like, what other reason would you be mad at us? And they're like, we just told you. You need to stop continuing an ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. You have to stop it. It's literally ridiculous. It is a genocide that you have just completely gotten away with and continue to get away with to this day. And then Israel's like, so you hate gay people and you hate our cool communes where people get together in the desert and have fun. And they're like, those communes are on the sites of villages that you expelled and destroyed and burned and massacred some people in. And Israel's like, are you kidding me? This forest of pine trees, which are totally native to here, have been here the whole time. What do you mean? This pine tree forest in the fucking desert has been here for thousands of years, and it was since we left, which is also a very substantiated claim. You can find all the archaeological evidence of it. We made it up, So it's like, that's what, we're dealing with. And then you say all this stuff, and people are like, well, that's really anti-Semitic. And it's like, no, it's anti-Zionist. And there's a difference between those two things, because not every Jewish person is a Zionist. And not every Zionist is a Jewish person. In fact, you can be anti-Semitic and Zionist. Why? Because you say, hey, I don't want Jews in my fucking country. Send them back to Israel. What do racists say? Get the blacks back to Africa. Tons of people like Balfour in Britain and tons of leaders of Western Europe, even the Nazis themselves, were pro-Zionism in the early days of Zionism because they said, oh, all these Jews from Russia need to go somewhere. They better not come here. So where did they go? Israel. And then they're killing all these people. And it's very bad. Not good. And Israel's response is, I think it's because we have gay people. And every other country is like, stop it. Which I think is how Ayatollah Khomeini should speak. When he gives his speeches, he speaks very dogmatically, very like, burn the thunder, kind of big time. But I think it could be more relatable if he's like, Israel, enough. It doesn't make any freaking sense. And Israel would be like, you're being an asshole. And they'd be like, just stop it. It's like, seriously, it's like a lot. It's like, just like a lot. Which is sort of the response of Arab countries since the foundation, even before, of the State of Israel. And now a lot of the world since October 7th, which is also the funny thing, that myself included, the entire world, it took till about October 7th until people were like, okay, hey, are they killing all of you guys? And Palestinians are like, yes, what are you talking about? They've been getting their ass beat the entire time, and then Israel keeps talking about nukes. And a lot of people are like, well, Israel's a great friend to the U.S. Let's say it like this. If you had a friend that every time you went to a bar, he pointed to another guy and said, that guy is building brass knuckles, and he's going to fucking kill us, and he wants to kill us. And you've been going there for 30 years, he's been pointing at the same guy, and every time you look at that guy, he is talking some shit. He'll talk across from the bar and be like, fuck you, man, you're a fucking bitch, I hate what you're doing. And sometimes he'll send a very weak guy over who your friend will just beat the fuck out of. But generally, it's about the same. And the whole time your friend has, every time he comes to the bar, is curb stomping this one very weak man who has never really had leadership. And he's like killing him. And then he's like, that other guy over there, he wants to kill us because we're friends and because we hang out and because we're cool. And then the guy across the bar is like, stop beating up that little guy. And then your friend is like, see? He hates us because he thinks we're gay and because we're cool. And you're like, no, I think it's because you keep beating up this little guy. And then your friend's like, why do you keep being focused? He doesn't exist. He's not real. He's never been real, and he's building brass knuckles. And you're like, I don't see him building brass knuckles. He has a couple pieces of brass. And honestly, I'm starting to think that maybe if he had some brass knuckles, you wouldn't fuck with him so much, because you seem like you're fucking with him a lot because he's mad that he's beating up this small guy. That's essentially what's going on. And a lot of people are like, well, maybe that's too simplified. I don't know. I think if enough people die, things get simple. You know what I mean? When you start killing thousands and tens of thousands of people in addition to the hundreds of thousands of people you've already killed, you don't really need a degree to decipher everything. There's some people with a lot more knowledge than me, of course. But there's also a lot of people with a lot of disinformation than me, which is tough to listen to some people because they're like, no, you don't know. And then they'll just lie to you. And you're like, okay, I don't know if you made that up, but that's not true. That's completely not true. And then you have a lot of Americans now who are very excited about the war because they saw a big plane, which is all they need. The guy they voted for was like, we're not going to war. Don't worry. No more wars. And they were like, awesome. Love it. And then he's like, we're starting a war. And they're like, what? And he's like, look how big this fucking plane is. And then they're like, yes, it's a fucking shoot. I love that fucking plane. And that's kind of all they needed to do. And the people are excited now because they get that idea of retribution. Where there's a lot of Americans that are like, they're going to fucking get what's coming to them. And what's funny is this time we don't even have a 9/11 to do that. They just showed them the plane, and then a bunch of Americans were like, well, then they must deserve it. I actually don't. If you asked me, I don't know why we're doing this. But they say if they get the nukes, they're going to nuke us. Because, yeah, no, definitely if Iran got a nuke, the first thing they would do is just fire it off at a country with way more nukes and begin a nuclear holocaust and kill everybody, including themselves. Of course. Of course that's their solution to trying to stop Israel's colonization. Of course that's what's going to happen. So, listen, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I hope the war doesn't get out of hand, but if it does and I get drafted, I'm killing every American soldier within 5 feet of me. So, and I'm making this stuff, I'm putting it out publicly, because I would love everybody in the Army, in the armed services, just to see this, because I'd like to stay home, okay? I have a creative writing degree. I'll stay home, and I'll make podcasts that nobody listens to, that you in the deep state can suppress if you care to, but honestly, nobody's listening to begin with. So I feel like I can fade into the background. But if you draft me, I'm taking an AR-15 to my head and everybody else's head in the barracks, okay? Because I'm not killing anybody over there. I don't know, they seem fine. They want nukes, that's okay. Ultimate deterrent, who blames them, But, yeah, just quick message to the armed services. Don't draft me, I'll kill everybody. So thank you so much. Hope you're feeling good.